Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lucore Automotive. Time to have a pretty sad conversation, unfortunately. Today, we talk about problems, issues that my 1994 940 Turbo Volvo Wagon is having, and what we're going to do to resolve those. I bought this car a number of years ago. It has done a wonderful job being a trusty steed for me, but it's finally time to start addressing some issues, and some of these are really big issues. So, it's been a while since I updated any of you guys on any of this process on this Volvo. Stay tuned. Here we go. Let's talk some Volvo wagon stuff. For those of you who are not familiar with this car, this is my 1994 940 Turbo Volvo Wagon. It is white. It is a wagon. It is turbo. Awesome. I bought this car a number of years back as a reliable daily driver that I could use to just kind of do putzing around, to be able to haul stuff for the shop. And the idea was I wanted to buy something that I wasn't going to modify, because I'm a hot rodder and I modify everything. And generally speaking, that means I'm going to spend a bunch of time and money to make things worse. So I've done that on a bunch of other things. I decided I didn't want to do that. So I bought a nice trusty Volvo wagon. Now, I did buy a turbo one, which means I can modify it. You may notice that it does have wheels on it that are not the original wheels that are on it. But other than that, that's about the only modification I've really done to this thing. Truth be told, I've done almost no maintenance at all on this thing, aside from oil changes. And I've put like 32,000 miles on it since I purchased it. But it's time to start actually paying attention to some of the problems this car has had and stop glossing over them as I have been in the past. So let me walk you through a couple of my issues and the resolution we're going to find to these issues. Our current mileage on this B230 FT is 217,000 miles. These are 100,000 mile timing systems. And if you can see here on this pen thing, the timing set was done at 125,700 miles in December of 2005. That's 16 years ago and more than 80,000 miles ago. So it's time to start having a conversation about the timing set. Now, in addition to the timing set situation needing to be done, the water pump has been leaking since I got this thing. It's a slow leak, it's not a big leak, but it's a little bit of a leak. It does also have a little bit of an oil leak out of the front cover as well, which is kind of a problem. It's got a little bit of a leak out of the valve covers, and it also does have some leaks out of the turbo lids. So, more than a few oil leaks. Now, I never actually showed you guys this, but following the original 2500 road trip when we got back from Wyoming, I never popped the hood on this car the entire trip. So we put like 2,600 miles on this car, never popped the hood, never looked underneath it. And it might have been a little low on oil when I got it back here. And by a little low on oil, I mean it had like a quart of oil in it. We actually added 2.5 quarts to it to get it back onto the dipstick. So engine ran a wee bit low on oil. Consequently, camshaft is a bit worn out, and it's time to do a timing set and a camshaft and a bunch of the other stuff. So it's kind of time for that big major surgery that it needs to go down for. Now, the good news is on these motors, it's not real complicated and it's not real expensive to be able to do that. But it's more money. You know what I mean? We also do have a little bit of a compression issue and a little bit of a blow-by issue on the front cylinder. So it isn't 100% healthy even if we do the timing setup and get the camshaft replaced and all the stuff that needs to be done. Now, the other problem we have is this. Transmission-wise, this car has honestly always had a problem since I purchased it. Again, I've put more than 30,000 miles in this car, and I did notice a little bit of a slip here and there, especially when you'd be going into reverse. You'd get it into reverse on the selector, and it wouldn't necessarily always go in reverse. It would usually go in reverse. Sometimes you'd have to give it some revs, and then it would catch in reverse. It has since now gotten considerably worse. We have changed out the fluids and done all of the actual maintenance things that you would normally do on these transmissions from Volvo, but it does have 217,000 miles on it at this point in time, and as far as I'm concerned, it has never been out of this car. Now, also something to be noted here is the previous owner did replace the transmission cooler and lines on this, which is a little interesting. And to me, it kind of denotes that there may have been an issue where it ruptured a power steering cooler or a line, and it may have run the transmission low on transmission fluid and damaged something inside of the transmission. So we have some expensive conversations to have at this point in time. Do we pull the transmission out and have it rebuilt, or do I just find a remanufactured transmission? These are not really all that common of a transmission to be able to just purchase a new one that's been remanufactured. And if I can, they're still about $1,000. We've got a few $100s in the timing set, which is going to be, we'll call it $300 or $400, with a new camshaft, a new timing setup, new sprocket, all that kind of thing. And there's a lot of other things that need to be addressed. The struts in the front are pretty badly worn out. We've still got oil leaks from the turbo, so the turbo probably needs to be replaced. It is the original turbo to the car. There's just a lot of things that add up really quickly. And if we're talking parts costs, I'm probably in the neighborhood of $2,000 without including labor costs. Now, this is my vehicle, so it's not like I have to pay a shop to do it. I can do this stuff in the shop on my own free time, so I don't have any labor costs. The problem is, if you haven't noticed this, we're extremely busy around here, so finding the time and the energy to be able to get this done is not exactly that easy. So let's be honest with ourselves here. How long would it take me to get this done and to be able to service my daily driver? Because again, this is the thing I drive every day, all day long, hauling myself and all kinds of stuff with. So yeah, let's be honest about what needs to happen here. Now, with that in mind, I have a solution. This is my 1993 940 Turbo Volvo Wagon. It's also white. So this is how we're gonna resolve my problems on my 94. We're gonna buy another car. I was kicking around a lot of different options as far as what to do with this. The idea of possibly picking up a transmission, not a bad idea. Problem is you really can't find transmissions for these cars. So the thought was, all right, let's deal with the oil leaks. Let's find a transmission, throw it in there, kick this can down the road to battle another day. Well, so I started looking for a viable option for a transmission and really couldn't find much of anything that was in the price range that I wanted to pay, that was something that I would feel comfortable swapping in, swapping out, and trusting down the road. So I started looking for a parts car. And wouldn't you know it, when I'm on Craigslist, look up 940 Volvo, and the only thing that came available in a 5-state range was almost exactly the same car I already owned. This was in Cleveland. And it was meant to be, because I paid $2,500 for my first Turbo Volvo Wagon, and wouldn't you guess what this one was listed for? Yep, can't make this up, $2,500. So, in my mind, this is meant to be. I actually did get $100 off of this car in my negotiation skills, because it's not nearly as good a car as my other one was, and I may have gotten slightly hosed on this deal. Right now, used car prices are stupid. Let's be honest, they're stupid. So there's a good chance I overpaid for this car. It does have a few issues, which we're going to go over here momentarily when we do a new pre-purchase, post-purchase inspection, and see exactly what kind of a machine I purchased. But it does have 60,000 less miles on it than my 94 does. It has these beautiful 5-spoke MSW wheels, which I'm told are pretty rare and pretty valuable. The body's in decent shape. The interior is in actually really good shape. It's a cloth interior versus my leather interior in the 94. It also doesn't leak oil as profusely as the 94 does, and seems to function pretty dang well. So that's how you fix the 1994 940 Turbo Volvo Wagon. You buy another one. And now I can use this one on the next 2500 road trip coming up in the fall of this year. You see? It's a great plan. So let's do a little inspection, shall we? See what I found, see what I bought, See how badly I'm gonna get hosed. First off, let's go down the hood, see what we got. All right, now full disclosure here. For those of you who are astute observers of our content and our trips, I have had this car for a little while. I bought this car back in March, so I have put about 3,500 miles on it since I purchased it. Also, since I purchased it, I have never popped this hood. I have never checked the oil. I've never checked transmission fluids. I've never checked windshield washer fluid. I've never checked anything. This hood has literally not been up in 3,500 miles. The guy that I bought it from said he changed the oil right before I bought it. So, yeah. And it runs, so what could I possibly have a problem with? Look at that! A B230 FT. Alright, so again, let's have the same kind of conversation about the other one we just looked at. Timing set on the other one was 90,000 miles or so, so within range of needing to be done. This one, according to this Volvo service sticker here on the front, was done about 12,000 miles ago. So I don't have to do a timing set on this thing for a long, long time. Engine bay cleanliness wise versus the 94, way cleaner. No oil leaks from the valve cover, no oil leaks from the turbo, no oil leaks or coolant leaks from the front cover or from the water pump. Hoses are all in good shape. Everything is good. Radiator is actually almost brand new. Lots of actual maintenance history on this car, so I'm actually feeling pretty positive about this. It also has the correct 940 nose on it, unlike my other one, which does not, because it had a front end collision. The hood actually matches the car, so it hasn't had a replacement hood on it. So all in all, physically speaking, this thing's in much better shape than my other one is. I'm feeling okay so far about my purchase. At this point, it needs servicing anyway, so I'm going to pull the oil out of this thing and you guys can see with me just what the state of my oil situation is in this car. Hopefully, there's lots of oil still in the car and it doesn't look bad. If it does look bad and there's not a lot of oil in it, we'll have a different kind of conversation, but I guess let's do our pre-purchase, post-purchase inspection. Let's see what I got. See if I can not burn myself. Hey, there's at least a few quarts of oil in it. That's it. Okay, so maybe it was a little low on oil. Ruh-roh, Yogi. Let's look and see what this oil looks like out here. All right, so oil's obviously a wee bit black. It's not real surprising. Let's see if I can see any weird stuff in the oil. Okay. So obviously we didn't get a whole lot of oil out of this thing. Maybe about 2 quarts. Capacity on this car is 4.7, so that's a little concerning. Obviously you don't want to run a car low on oil. My bad, probably should have checked this, but I trusted the guy. He seemed like a nice, upstanding, older gentleman. Yeah, so let's pull the filter and see what's going on in there, and put some oil in this thing. Yeah, I don't see anything that's real concerning in the oil. That's a good sign. There's not sparkly, as Rich would call it, psychedelic stuff in the oil, so that's good. Hey, tires might actually be somewhat close. Tire pressures are close-ish. 29, 30, 26, 26. So, not terrible, but definitely not in spec. But No big deal. Pressures are all back where they need to be. Tire wear wise, we've still got about 60% of these Road Tour Hercules tires, so not too bad. We can kick that can down the road. Don't have to be buying any tires anytime soon. Headlights all work. That's exciting. These have actually got new lenses on them also, so they're actually nice and pretty. I do have a brake light burnout on the back of the car. Not a real big deal. I need to check transmission fluids and a couple of other things. Brakes. Yeah, we're going to replace all the brakes. Yeah, we're going to replace all the brakes. There we go. Got a bit of exhaust leak over here in the turbo area. Not a real big surprise there. You can actually hear it and smell it a little bit in the cabin. But, yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Let's check our trans fluid. So it's just shy of max, so trans fluid level seems fine. Now, it's very likely that my kickdown cable is sticking. These things are actually kind of notorious for that cable that runs between the throttle up here and the transmission itself sticking, and it holds it in gear a little too long. So we can do a number of things. We can adjust this cable. We can lube the cable up to see if it loosens itself up, or we can just replace the cable. So we'll deal with that in a future episode, but we need to acknowledge that at this point that's an issue. All in all, not too shabby. Move it off the alignment rack, check my air conditioning system. All right, we are currently evacuating the system. There actually was some refrigerant in the system, so at least it all hadn't leaked out. But my air conditioning never has worked in this car. So, hopefully we don't have a leak in the system. So it's evacuated system, then we're going to leak check the system, pull a vacuum on it, make sure everything's good to go. Then we will throw some refrigerant charge back in it with a little bit of PAG oil, and cross our fingers that we have air conditioning because it's hot. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, she went up from about a half a pound of refrigerant to 2 pounds of refrigerant, which is where it's supposed to be. So time to start this thing and see if we actually have cold air. I can't be that lucky, but we'll see. The belt's a little loose. Need to try to fix that. The good news is, it came with a free belt. It's not like blowing out ice cold, but it's still pretty cool. So, yeah, I'll take it. Whew. Not bad. Belt's all tightened up. Compressor's still working. Life is good. That's one thing off the checklist. So, there we go. That's how you fix the 1994 940 Volvo Turbo Wagon. Is you buy another one. What do you guys think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Did I get a good deal? Did I get hosed? Now, full honesty here. Did I overpay for the car? Yeah, probably. With COVID cash and everything going on right now, especially when I bought this in March, used car prices have gone really crazy. And this was literally the only one available within like a 5-state radius. So, did I overpay for the car? Yeah, probably. Was it a lot? No, not really. It's got a couple of issues that still concern me. The hard shift into first is a little bit frightening because that could be a transmission issue, which is exactly what I did. Didn't want to deal with on the other car. But otherwise, everything else I've found with this car, it's very structurally sound. The brakes, are hosed, but that's okay. I already knew that when I picked it up. The car hasn't been driven much in the last few years. Fluids were, you know, okay. Was the oil okay when I drove it originally? Yes. Was it black and missing a few quarts when I got done with it? Yes. You know, I put 3,500 miles on it, so now it's something we're going to have to pay attention to. What's the oil consumption level? Is it something that's within tolerances, or is it something we need to be concerned about? There aren't any active leaks in the system, so it would be an issue of it's using oil, is it pushing oil out somewhere? You know, stuff to look at, something to pay attention to. So don't worry about the 940, the other 940. Helga, the battle wagon, will come back to life. Actually, it might come back to life twice, sort of. But that's a story for another day. So let me introduce you to Olga. This is the 1993 version. So there you go. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. There's some adventures ahead for me and Olga. This is going to be my 2021 2500 road trip. So far, I'm still at $2,400 invested in this car because I was able to fix the AC situation for free. Kind of. Anyway, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, clearly we do a lot more interesting things than just old Volvos, but if you're around for old Volvos, welcome. We do a bunch more stuff with the old Volvos for you. Drop a comment in the comment section below. As always, please do click on that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet to us, please do subscribe. We will see you guys on the next one. Wow, almost an entire gallon. Oh. My windshield washer neck leaks. Oy.